So we'll start with Parks and Rec, do engineering, and then do Public Works. Ken wanted to say a little something, a cautionary tale, which I'm going to let him say. Here's the microphone. He wants to do a little cautionary tale about lease purchase.
Okay, so I've had a discussion this morning. I've tried to get a hold of Mike. He's been a busy man today, but I had a busy discussion with the chief of police and the fire chief, and the proper way to account for those leases, even though, let's say we do one of those leases, let's say the one that the chief was talking, police chief was talking about yesterday, and it's the cameras, body cameras. So, and he was talking about in the first year making a payment of like $365,000, and there was supposed to be another, let's say $350,000 that we're going to pay over a 5-year period. So I said, well, to get the proper accounting for it, because in the past we haven't accounted for it properly, and I'm going to use the example of police cars. So say we purchase police cars on a 5-year lease. How the city was accounting for those leases in the past was each year they would just accumulate that lease until the 5th year was paid off. And then they took that principal for those 5 years and they capitalized it. Well, those cars, they should be fully depreciated because you only capitalize cars for 5 years. So it makes no sense, plus it's not the proper accounting for it. What we have to do is we put the full purchase of the whatever we're purchasing, in this case the body cams, say it's $750,000. We put that in the budget, but we have an offsetting revenue of whatever the difference from what we are actually paying down and the full lease price. Say in this case it's $750 to $350. So we have $400,000 that we recognize as proceeds of lease as a revenue. So y'all have been.
So what you're saying then, Ken, just like the SAFER grant, we put the full amount of the bodies into this year, but we have another entry in the revenue account that is the amount of revenue we're bringing in.
It kind of.
So it's really just, as far as the council is concerned, the impact on our budget, money-wise,
Yeah.
is that only that share.
Well, the concerns that I've had expressed to me was, well, that's going to make the total expenditures go up. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But the revenue is going to go up also. The net effect is the same as just the way you're doing it right now. The net effect is the same. It really is not going to affect the difference between the two. It's going to stay the same. But at least we're getting the full amount that when we purchase these body cams, we can go out and capitalize it for the full cost. And it's there in the general ledger. So when the auditor comes here and we've got this capitalized, they can agree, because they was letting it sit there for 5 years until it's paid. Say it's a 10-year lease.
So in politics, this would be called fuzzy math or voodoo economics.
No, I'm going to the whole value in fixed asset. You understand that, Mayor? Yeah. 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 So, and I wanted to mention one other thing, is that when we're talking these leases, now that is debt. That's, even though it may not be a factor in our calculation of our 15 or our 20% for bond issues or anything like that, it's still debt that when you do these things, you're adding to or encumbering future budgets.
All right, so we're going to go from 59 million to 60 million now? Is that what we need to do?
On the revenue side?
On the revenue side.
But the expenditure is going to go up too.
I know. Okay.
All right, just because I'm a non-accounting type, but what I heard you say basically, because I'm always thinking in terms of audit exceptions, that may or may not result in an audit exception. If it doesn't, then this is the correct way to account for those dollars, and that's what we want to do.
It shouldn't be an exception because it's acceptable accounting, standards.
Right, but if you didn't do it this way, it would be an exception, which is my point. So we.
Right.
But we're accounting for it.
Thank you, Ken, for that explanation.
You're welcome.
With that, we'll turn to Sherry Bell to talk about Parks and Recs, and we'll just follow the same format we were doing yesterday with the other departments. So, Ms. Bell?
Mine is very simple. I am asking for $96,000 more dollars, but basically to purchase 3 vehicles. The last vehicles that I purchased were 2012, and that was 2. 2008, I purchased 6, and the oldest vehicle I have is 94 and 96. They're getting to the point I'm going to ask for 2 of them to be surplus this year because the maintenance is too high on them, and it's just not worth it. And I have to have vehicles. When one breaks down or one's being serviced, we have to have those vehicles to be able to do our work. I will also tell you what I did to make this happen is I just went in my budget and I rearranged a lot of monies. After I met with Joe, we found out that we're going to need at least $50,000 more in electricity due to the causeway and the new World Market City Center. $25,000 for retirement. So, and then basically I just spread it around to make the department work. So I will tell you also, under buildings, there's $12,500. That's going to go for a new salt filter, Mike. I just found out we're going to need. So at the natatorium.
I heard salt filter.
Salt filter to keep the salt out of the pool at the natatorium.
Gotcha, okay.
Anything else?
So for the record, the current year budget is $4.4 million, and next year's budget request is $4.5 million.
Okay.
It's an increase of $96,000. And built into that is capital. Tell me how many vehicles?
3 vehicles. And
So we could say then that you're talking about the body count's the same, the three vehicles, and the PERS increase is the difference between
yes, sir.
This year's budget and last.
And asking for electricity, more electricity. And basically, I just moved as much money around and deleted as much as I could. Going line item by line item this year with Jody.
Director, there were some scoreboard issues this past season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have enough in your budget to take care of the maintenance and replacement of any anticipated scoreboard outages or replacement of the, whatever they call those, circuit boards?
The
all that kind
module,
of
the
stuff?
circuit board. Yes. I didn't realize it was not working, and so all we did was just get somebody out there.
Yeah, they
and got
jumped on it
done.
right away
Yeah.
when you were made aware
Yeah.
of it, and I appreciate it. But, we got many parks, besides A.J. Holloway, so
I have 13 ball fields, 39 parks and playgrounds, 7 facilities.
you have
Yep.
enough to meet your goals for this coming year?
Yes, I'm going to make it work. Mm-hmm.
You
I
have built,
didn't say make it work. Are you going to
I'll
have
make it
enough
work.
to make the experience, not only for the locals, but these tournaments that you host and we compete against other cities?
Oh, yes.
Are we okay with
We're
that?
good. We're good.
you have budgeted this year $73,000 in other contractual services, and you've increased that to $80,000.
Yes, sir.
That's the money that you would use for scoreboards.
That's the portalets, the repair of the scoreboards, the trash. We have a big dumpster out. It covers a lot of things for services.
I have a few
Okay.
really comments more
Okay.
than anything else. Sherry, I know I've talked with you about playground equipment at Pennzoil Park. It's old and everything, and I know you're trying to manage your budget to replace that equipment there. So the playground equipment there, 2 sets out there, and I appreciate that. Also, the fence around the Snyder Center, I know basically literally is falling down. I know you're managing your resources, hoping to get to that. when
Right,
you
the
get to
bond
it.
money. We just got one of our first quotes, and it was $30,000 to replace the wooden. Yes, I think we can get it
$30,000 for a
cheaper.
wooden fence?
Well, you're going to go with treat it, you're going to go back, and it's going to be to where it's not
We need
falling
more than
apart.
one price, I think.
Well,
Yes, oh,
just-
yes, we're getting another one.
What do they say? Good fences make good neighbors?
You
Okay.
got it. If they don't burn them down on the other side.
Excuse me, Paul, a second.
Sure,
Mike, do you have
George.
a sheet? He wasn't there yesterday. Do you have another set of these for Felix? That's all. Go ahead, Paul.
You might find them on eBay. I,
It's bond monies that's coming out. And
are we moving forward? I know we were looking at replacing some of that metal trim, whatever it's called there at the Snyder Center pool, and then
yes,
has that started yet or no?
no, he's still
Okay.
getting prices.
But that was out of the $14 million
That
bond issue,
was,
as I
find
recall.
out that we're going to have a new chiller, which is $150,000. I'm not quite sure about the compressor, if
Right.
we need the other one or not. So in the
Gotcha.
pool, multi-room.
One other question that I've asked the other department heads, and in a typical month, how many vacancies do you have, or are you always operating really with all your positions filled?
I'm usually always operating, with the exception of lifeguards. It's just,
Still an issue.
I've just lost three
Part-time, full-time, and it
just lost three.
gets worse in the
Yep.
winter. It's a seasonal
I
thing.
just lost 3 permanent part-time. We're going to be
Okay.
looking for some more.
Does George look good in a bathing suit? Maybe we could,
Can you lifeguard, Mr. George?
George, I'm wondering how you look in a bathing suit. Would you consider being a lifeguard? Get the
think it'll look
certified?
good.
He can do it. He can do it.
I got a great
Yeah.
tan.
Thank you, Sherry.
That's my high
Thank you, Sherry.
turnover is in
Tan and
there.
everything.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No other
Any other questions? Mr. Glavin?
I have none.
Mr.
Look at-
Lawrence?
Well, he's looking up.
He's
We-
looking without his glasses.
Didn't quite hear. What'd you get on, how many employees you have, full-time employees?
I have 50 full-time and 8 part-time. Is that right?
Fifth?
Yeah, I do have some right now we're trying to fill. I have a crew leader, 2 crew leader positions that did a lateral transfer to Public Works, and a maintenance worker. And then I have a facility supervisor that we're going to be looking as soon as Will Market Center opens up. And then a part-time facility worker that I have got to get hired because of the bathrooms, the splash pads. I get so many complaints about, trash and bring them in on the weekends.
This beautification you have listed here, that everything with the city, or is it just your parks in it?
No, sir, they cut everything in the city. We have really cut back on beautification as far as flowers and things of that, because I don't have the staff to do that anymore like I used to. I used to have 3 beautification crews. Now I'm down to 1, if I can make 1, because we're steady picking up things like, the causeway, we were cutting it, but now it's off on contract. We just picked up, MGM Park. We're doing all that. We're doing all the grass cutting, all the logistics, and all the beautification.
I know you keep the ball fields like that complex up there cut.
Yeah, I have a crew of 12 out there that does all the maintenance and all the ball fields out there and Pops Ferry.
Yeah, I know I've actually before, like Circle Park, all these little parks, sometimes the area around them, actually, if they could cut that, I'm talking about the sidewalks, the grass growing out of the street, stuff like that, because they're close to your parks,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that, if we paying this kind of money for beautification, the city needs to look good. Right.
Thank you.
We were talking yesterday, he called about creating something, the image group or
Yeah.
something to make
Mr.
everything look
George, I
better.
just told them last week, look, Circle Park is there, cut the sidewalks, so that's what they're doing. So it should be done.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, we shouldn't, you got to be people, that's what they're supposed to do.
Right, we're there,
If they
we're gonna
can't
do
do
it.
it, then fire them, get somebody that can work. We gotta have people who to work,
So,
so I mean, there's no reason I gotta ride down and call you and say, you need to go cut this,
you know,
you need to cut that.
well, they have a lot, like last week, they, with having that 1 day off, the 4th of July, put us back to a 3-day week, but they also do all the setup for Civic Center. So it takes away from our grass cutting. We're doing the best we can, I promise you. We're trying to stay on the facilities first, and then the parks, the main ones like Beck, Miramar, and Hillard that get used a lot.
Sherry rattled off the number of things, number of facilities that we do, what we have, and it's under her care, based on the work before she does. Now, there may be some considerations. First of all, is defining what needs to be done on a weekly basis, what needs to be done every 2 weeks, what needs to be done for image, and there may be a combination. If you do, an operational research kind of part of that, then we could come up with maybe a mix of our people versus contract people. You know, some of the things that you use to pull the trigger on, some of the things that you can do seasonally, that doesn't make sense. We add the people, but you're going to have to keep things going for year-round versus some of the things you can buy, and that's what
Exactly. Like, 4th of July, we knew we had to hit those parks and get them ready because we knew they were going to be out there. We knew they were going to be at MGM Park, so we have a schedule. Sometimes we adhere to it, and sometimes we get off of it depending on the functions that are happening.
And again, we might want to take a look at the contract services kind of component, that we could add in order to do a more, creative job when it comes to image and finishing and, look at things that are manicured.
Yeah.
So, she does great with what she has, but there's a limit to what people can do in a 40-hour week.
I mean, it's been great that we're contracting out under I-10. They do all that grass cutting now. I think volunteer, we're giving that back to the school system because every time we turn around, they're taking over part of the field. So I told Mike, I said, we don't need it anymore, just give it to them. Give it back to them. And then also, they took over, I think we had 4 lots. So it has freed us up some. And when I get my 3 guys back in order, we'll be back to full force. So, but like I said, we have the Civic Center, beautification, all the grass cutting, and logistics.
How many buildings you rent?
I have, how many I rent?
Yeah, don't you have, how many did you rent out?
Rich Snyder. I have 2 that I rent out. And then we'll start with Will Market City Center once it opens up.
What's the 2 you rent?
Greenwich and Snyder.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Second.
Snyder Center and Greenwich.
Right.
And then we're also, let me take that back, we do Hill Park Pavilion and Potts Ferry Causeway, the 2 pavilions that we have out there. People are really coming and asking about renting those lately.
Have you kept up with the rent? Are we doing well renting these properties or not?
Yeah,
That's
we're,
revenue taken in.
I
Offset some of
agree.
our costs,
and what we charge Mr. George does not cover our expenses.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about
Yes.
you said up under the I-10 bridge,
Mm-hmm.
north of the railroad tracks. I had a guy call about that. We have a contractor that's taking care of that.
Yes, Gulf Breeze Landscaping. And when it gets out of hand, Rachel and I'll call Rachel and Rachel will call them. So I think they're only cutting it once a month.
Once a month. Yeah, I got a call about it
Mhm.
2 days ago. That's why I was asking, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Who took care of it.
Yes. Now, we take care of the one south at Hopkins where the market is, the community market is, because I know we need to do that because a lot of people are doing that, so, and are patronizing that area.
You're talking about a crazy phone call. I have one, and it's underneath the interstate, and the people that ride their bikes can't go up the steps. That's really, they got to be approached by all the public nuisance people, and they try to bike across the bridge like the Diablo, and they got to go up steps. I was just wondering why MDOT, whoever controls that bridge, is not handicap accessible.
well, good question for MDOT.
Thank you.
You know, I
Mr.
was just saying
Tisdale?
that that's all underneath there, like you said, where they all hang around, and they have been keeping it well, as far as clean. But I mean, this is something the city's got to show itself off. You're supposed to look good all the time. It's supposed to be clean all the time. It's tough enough, but it's that, like you said, it's hard. That's your job. That's what you do, and the people work for you. That's what they're supposed to do.
I would love to just have just the litter crew, if I could.
I'm just saying that's all. Everybody in the city has their job to do, and you have to do it.
Yes.
So I don't care what division you're in.
I
Who's the
agree.
director? That's your job to make sure everything is done and those people working.
Yep, you're
So-
right.
You said that what we charge at the Snyder Center and the Greenwich Center don't cover expenses?
Mm-mm.
What would it, how much
We
would it?
charge $500 rental for the main floors.
Okay.
Okay? That means opening up, that means janitorial supplies, that means having a supervisor on site and paying them. So the utilities alone, they're expensive now.
At the Greenwich Center.
Yes, Greenwich and Snyder.
You,
Civic Center is more current as far as costs.
Yes.
Right, and I'm thinking if we were to increase what we charge, has anybody looked at that? Or maybe we ought to look at that. I mean, it
We-
shouldn't cost us anything.
You just changed the price for the town green.
Yes, I went from 200 to 250 for town green. The other ones, we would love to, I mean, I would love to be able to cover the cost.
Maybe we just look at that. I mean, we shouldn't be losing money.
That's right.
Right.
Jerry Creel.
Will you be
Trying to be a
getting,
good businessman, because I'm not a businessman.
Well, you know, we
You
had
know.
that.
I don't know if people, honestly, I mean, I think we should go up on a lot of things, cost, but will the people, I don't know.
Yeah,
We-
that's the whole thing. We're in a
Yeah.
that's a service that we're providing.
man.
And you know, a wise man told me, so if you're in a service business and you don't run a few people off because of cost, you're not charging enough. We haven't run anybody off because of cost.
No. Nope.
The next thing, and Mr. Lawrence is right, I mean, we're talking about keeping the city clean and the beautification crews and everything, but just in doing a little research over the past few years, we used to have, I think it was 3 litter crews, 2 or 3 man teams. What they did was go around, weed eat, pick up trash, and all. We don't have those anymore.
I used to have 21 in beautification. I mean,
How many do
3
you
of
have?
them were beautification. I have 15.
Okay, that tells you something. The other thing is, I remember we talked at one time, maybe can we get somebody from the Harrison County over there, the jail, and they said, I'm sorry, all ours is spoken for or something already.
We had some certification for, 1 for 4, I think.
Yeah, we had one that was
1 for 4.
certified.
You get 4 people and to.
Right, and when they come over, then you've got a ratio where you've got to manage them and be sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. I guess I'm saying all of this just because over the past 25 years, 23, 24, 25 years, as the cost goes up with inflation, with PERS contributions as they've gone up and everything, it takes additional revenue to do this, and we need to operate the city as a business. The mayor knows that, and I'll just leave it at that for right now, but I'll get to my point later. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't go up, Councilman? What doesn't go up is the $11.75 an hour that we're paying these guys to do that work.
Thank you. Yep.
Well, I'm all for it, and we differ on how they should be compensated, at what rate, but I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all. I think I'm done.
Anything else?
Well, Mike, there's another increase of $100,000, so we started going up in this budget. She said she needed 96,000 more.
96,000 is three trucks and the PERS increase. So we can tell you what it's for.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, you said with the police department and the fire department,
Right.
you keep hollering, we don't have enough money, and yet we steady adding to the budget. So what are your plans? Not yours. Sherry is.
Yeah.
Not yours.
I'm going to do
That's
what I
your
have
job.
to do.
With the plan is probably we're going to have to make another round at this before it's over.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for the directors to come and tell you what they've done. Now, remember that their budgets have already been screened, and if you will, we've made a run at knocking them down already.
So, like, what we need to-
when we're all said and done, we may have to make another round through
Like,
this.
she says she needs 3 new trucks.
Right.
I mean, do we have to have 3 this year? I mean, I'm talking to you now, not her. So, I mean, that's what we have to look at, just like the police department, the fire department. Some of the stuff you need to do, but I mean, can you afford to do it without changing anything else, you know, so.
Well, that's something we'll have to discuss. If you tell me to cut my budget, then we'll look at, do I really need the 3? Maybe.
But like it's-
I feel like I need them. We're getting ready to surplus 2 in beautification alone and 1 in parks.
All you directors feel like that, Sherry.
Well,
Everyone we talk to feel like we need this, we need that. And we, as the council, want to supply it, but then
I understand.
financially.
I understand.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying what you need, what you don't need. I'm just saying we have to look at these things as a council, and it comes down to the final numbers, where they get the money from.
And I
Yeah.
understand.
That's all.
Thank you. And now we'll talk about the engineering department.
Oh, man, this ought to be fun. Where did we find this sheet? 7 million.
Okay, I actually have a decrease in my budget this year. Due to not filling a couple positions, this year we'll have 20 positions. We lost some administrative staff, and we decided not to refill those positions. Other than that, we're pretty much the same. Asking for 2 vehicles, which is what I asked for last year. We're trying to, just like Sherry said, we've got vehicles. This year I put over almost $20,000 just in vehicle repairs, and I can buy a new vehicle for $23,000. So I'm asking for 2 new vehicles to replace some of my old vehicles. We pretty much, that's about it. We're keeping everything about the same.
If you replace one new vehicle for 23,000, how many old vehicles you have? Because we still gonna have the other problem, right? Repairing the old ones.
Yes.
Right.
Well, that's correct. So, yeah, I'm trying to get 2 a year until we get them all replaced. So we're kind of slowly trying to knock them down. We're replacing the worst. When we buy 2, we drop the 2 worst ones off. So
How many employees you have, full-time employees?
20.
20. How many of these people you had that go out on the field with this infrastructure? Are
Well-
they part-time people, or they full-time people?
Well, for the infrastructure inspectors, that's contracted out through Neil Schaefer, and that's not part of my operating budget. That comes under the FEMA capital project budget.
But they work out of your office, they just
They
don't
work out of our
They
office.
don't work for you.
That's correct.
So,
Right.
so
How many-
your total body count for, there are 2 parts to her budget, 711 and 712. 712 is the infrastructure project support, and there are 3 bodies in there,
That's correct.
and those are three bodies that are in the budget.
Under infrastructure.
Say that again, okay, talking to Mike?
There, 711 and 712 are the 2 halves of the engineering budget. 711 is the normal engineering budget. 712 is the support to the infrastructure project. Within that support to the infrastructure project are 3 bodies: Walt Rohde, a construction inspector, a manager, and a clerical. So there's 3 bodies that are in 712, which is the infrastructure support, which will only be there as long as we have an infrastructure project.
That's correct.
Now, be warned that we have a claim, an appeal.
Don't worry about that right now. This is that 6 million that we're talking about. But really, I didn't mean to jump.
No, that's good.
But basically, we were clipping along. That's about $1.2 million a year, that department, isn't it?
Infrastructure?
With contract services.
Oh,
no
yes,
PR.
that's right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And HNTB was clipping along at about $3 million a year. Okay. So,
Good job, Mayor.
thank you very much.
He's only paying them $300,000 a month, come on, Fofa. I think it's 3.6 million.
Yeah.
But we didn't have much choice, we was forced to do that. You know, we got in that problem, and we're doing a better job, it's like a third of the money now.
Well, again, when we first
Right,
came
that's
on
what I'm
board,
saying, so it turned out to be a good thing for us.
well, a good thing for the project, really.
For the money, you know. So you don't need any new employees. How many engineers you have on staff? Your staff?
Right now, we have 5 engineers on staff, and let me make sure I'm telling you the right number.
Oh, thanks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So we have 5 engineers on staff that manage all of our projects. Some of those are infrastructure, some of those are work on regular projects.
So that's 5 in yourself, or is it 5 total?
That includes me.
So it's 5 altogether?
Yeah.
And everybody else is what, just
Everybody
support
else,
people?
yeah. We have engineering technicians, we have 3 GIS technicians, and then we have the clerical staff up front.
So the trucks you need are just trucks for them to run around to the sites and,
Yeah, those are for and we have 3 inspectors too. So our inspectors and our GIS techs have to go in the field. Well, our engineers go in the field too, but those 3 go in the field practically every day, inspecting job sites or collecting data, GIS data, that kind of stuff.
okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Works.
You got public works? You got one?
How y'all doing? Y'all gonna give me all the money now?
You You got how much money went it? You want 9 new trucks, 14 new people?
You know what he really needs is a new hat.
So 2% cut in fire would be that, and that's probably what we say if they did those body.
My budget hasn't changed hardly any. The problem I have is getting people in Public Works at $11.75.
Too low.
Too low.
We're about to have a national, minimum wage that's going to be more than what we pay. I mean, it's horrible trying to keep people working out where they're working out in the sun all day long for $11.75 an hour. So we have a tremendous amount of churn in Public Works. They just don't stay with us very long. It's very, very difficult to keep people.
Yeah, right now I got 96 people at Public Works.
93?
Yeah, I'm short about 3.
And how many have like the lower entry, the 1175 people? How many of those you have?
About 22, I think it is.
And they constantly changing, turnovers?
Yeah. If there's an opening, they're applying for it. If it pays more money, they may not have any experience at doing it, but they're going to apply for it because it pays more money than what they're making. And it's just that it's so low, George, it's hard to even, every time we interview people, and that's the first thing out of their mouth, when we tell them $11.75 an hour, and they get up and walk out the interview. So we can't keep them in there. I can't make them understand about the benefit package, because a lot of young people that
don't see
want a job, they want the money.
Is
Is this I was going to ask you, is this the lowest that we pay in the city, Mike?
Nope.
Is this the lowest?
Nope.
Okay.
I hired a guy at $10.75 for a position probably 7 years ago, and that's what that position paid started out at, $10.75, and he took it, and he stayed with the city quite a few years, probably 7 or 8 years, and then he moved on. He had made it all the way to the supervisor's position, but he found better pay once he got up to that status, and he left. But that's very rare that you get somebody to come in at $10.75, stay 5-7 years, and then at that time he's got experience under his belt, so he found a better paying job than what he was making at that particular time in a supervisor spot.
Is there any way we can kind of start looking at possibly reclassifying some of your jobs?
Yes, sir, there is. I'm hoping that one day I can come in here and say that we're going to start people working in Public Works at $13 an hour. And it may have to be, once they pass it nationally, for just the minimum wage, then you're going to be looking at $15 an hour.
Let me throw out, I'm not going to take note or take exception, but, we got to look at the whole package, benefits and vacation and all these other things. There's more to it than just than at 1075 or 1175. You got to look at the whole package and examine too what leave and so you got to get 2,000 hours a year out of somebody, and the existing structure is not conducive to that. With accrual of vacation after 3 or 4 months, you can't get production. He needs production, and so if you might want to pay a little bit more on an hourly rate if they work versus what you accrue, and everything's over the course of 20 years. You've, 12,000, what is it, $888 is what you pay. That's not wrapped up in that the 1075. So do the arithmetic, divide that by 2,000, add that to the hours. So I agree. We need to look at it from a business standpoint, how this is what's fair, and we want people to work here, we want people to stay here. But, it's all is not what it seems. So let's find out what it really is. I'm 100% with you. Let's take a look at the whole package.
One place that the Public Works budget has changed in my time here is that in the line item, other contractual services, that's where he can buy stuff from a contractor if he doesn't have the people to do it, has gone from $100,000 to $250,000 in his budget, and we still use every dime of that for doing repairs.
And I wasn't just talking about public works, I was talking about all employees.
Yeah, I'm talking about the city as a whole for as long as I've been here. I'm one of the very few because I work for less than anybody else because I like to work. Most people like to work for the money. I want to work because the fact is that it makes me feel good inside that I've accomplished something. But I'm an old man now. The younger generation, it's all about money.
I remember you was young.
We're talking about retirement.
Could you find time to cut my backyard this week?
No.
Okay.
Paul, I'm glad you brought that up. I have enough trouble with my wife about cutting the yard, okay?
Including in his budget this year is the same number that was in last year, and that's $100,000 for new machinery, tools.
Yes,
and
it's
stuff
for
like that,
machinery and steel.
$150,000 for vehicles, which is like 4 vehicles.
How many workers are you missing at this point now in that area? Or unfilled positions, should I say?
I'm about to tell you that.
Felix, in the beginning, Mr. Paul Tisdale was sitting in on it, and only because the previous administration cut all these positions out. Right before Katrina, we had 134 people at Public Works. You're never going to get them people back,
3 vacancies.
but we need to look at, as far as paying hourly, so that you can start getting skilled personnel walking in your door and try to keep them here for at least 10 to 12 years. I just had one guy that got offered $16 an hour to walk in at the new hotel that's getting ready to open up over there. After 90 days, he passes his probation period. They give him 50 cents more an hour if he passes the probation period. That's the kind of things I'm talking about for skilled personnel. See, right now we have people, they show up, they want a job, and then, okay, when can I start? We give them a start date and they don't show up. So then we have to start the process all over again. So it's just a different time right now for people.
What can we do to at least meet you at that halfway point? Because you said right now it's $11 coming on the city of Biloxi.
Well,
Soon it's going to be $15.
Yeah, like the mayor said, it needs to be talked about and everybody come to a happy medium that the city can afford and they can benefit at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm worried because of the fact that eventually you're going to possibly wind up contracting everything out and you're going to be paying that higher cost
Yeah,
anyway.
at the end of the day.
See?
Yeah, that's something we need to look at before we pass this budget, to at least raising that bottom line figure up a little bit more.
Mike, can you get us a figure of how much more we're going to be looking at and how many employees we need to raise the minimum wage to, and see if we can come together with maybe $13 an hour, something like that?
I can do that. We're really talking about public works and parks and recs. That's where these very low salaries are.
Mm-hmm.
We were thinking a while back about a 2% across the board raise for the city, and that number was basically 600,000. It's still on the table.
Utilities? I'm talking about total. That's in the utilities, water, sewer, public works section, and the billing and collecting. See, there's personnel in there that I can't get to use.
Well, I want you to keep those funds separate.
Uh-huh.
So you have how many in public works area?
In public works, I got 11 in the north, 10 in the south, and 6 to take care of all the buildings, 4 to take care of all the streets, striping, signs, and I got 3 in the mechanic shop.
So
And I got 2 in the warehouse.
36?
Yes.
Okay.
I would just, since have concerns about the salary schedule and some discussion about it, It would take a while, I think, and it might be nice to have a committee. We got an insurance committee here. It might be nice to have a salary schedule committee here to meet with the administration, and just if we're going to move this forward, it's going to take some time to study it. You got to try and come up with some solutions. You got to see what you can afford, how you're going to fund it. That would take a little time to do that, but here we are fixing to launch into fiscal year 20, so maybe during this coming fiscal year, maybe such a committee could meet and hammer these things out and understand how it's going to be funded, what it would mean for manpower. You got to have it restructured. If you're going to restructure it, then you got to go through the Civil Service Commission, so there's some time involved there. So there's a lot of procedural hoops to jump through, but really, it'd be nice to have such a discussion. That's just an observation on my part.
Yeah, if you change the low entry to $13, then you're going to change everything stepping above that. The people that's been in for 5 years and 10 years, you just can't change the bottom end, and then people pay up since somebody's been there 3 or 4 years, make the same amount of money, so it's going to fluctuate the whole compensation scale all the way up.
That's exactly right, George. But that's been
And that's going to be
the problem to begin with. Because you cannot bring that guy in higher than the guy that's been with you for 5 years. Because you're going to cause problems. He's going to walk out the door as soon as that happens.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to walk out the door because he's got experience under his belt now, 5 years. So you don't want to lose him.
Right.
But if he's been there 5 years and he's only gotten a raise up to $12
All the way, you got to do the whole level. So
Yeah.
whatever the levels are.
I'm just saying that, they need to have a big workshop, everybody sit down at the table and come up with something that's going to work for everybody.
You got to look at the total amount of go ahead.
Council President, the Council President has asked me to make a proposal to the council about salaries, and we'll do that. I'll make that part of the next budget meeting that we have. As I said, we've run the numbers on a 2%, and we know what that is. The mayor is right. I mean, it's a total package. I'm sure the members of the insurance committee would report, at least what I heard, was that the experts tell us that we're underfunding our insurance, and we're probably going to get in trouble pretty soon. So insurance for these employees is getting expensive. You've seen we've got a 2% increase to their PERS application. So those employees, even though they're only getting $11.75 an hour, are costing us more every year just because their insurance and their retirement is going up. So it's complicated. It's not real simple, but clearly, since I don't know, I've been here 3 years, and they have been any pay raises, any across the board pay raises. The guys on the bottom have not been touched. So we'll give you a proposal. Just to make this go a little quicker, while Billy Ray's sitting here, we have another department, really, it's the water sewer department. There's not a great deal to say here. I looked at the numbers. We're showing an increase in the water sewer department from 15.9 million to 16.2 million. And at the same time, under the revenue account, we didn't talk about enterprise revenue during the revenue workshop, but the revenue is shown as 16,408,000. So the water sewer fund is shown as being positive in terms of revenue exceeding expenses in the budget, as it has been the last 2 years. So there's nothing unusual there. It's the same number of bodies, including some of these low-end bodies and some equipment.
Right, and we appreciate that fact, and it's a good point to mention that, and we spent a number of workshops here talking about that, clearly understanding that the council and the administration, and I would hope that if we really want to do something about wages and benefits, we'd have the same kind of discussion over time on that, but nobody was wild about raising the rates. The residential folks really didn't bear the brunt of that for the most part. But even then, I know we looked at it and said, well, you got to cover your expenses. You've got to cover in a proprietary account. So we're about where we need to be, and hopefully we make a little money for maintenance and repairs and things like that.
Thankfully, this council had the guts to raise the rates very slightly in water sewer. and as a result, we've been positive the last couple of years. We have one more rate increase in October, and after October, we'll be coming back to council asking to extend that trend into the rest of the term. That's the only thing that's keeping us positive is two things really. One is more people paying into the fund, more new houses, and the other thing is the rates have gone up just slightly.
Well,
This year, they'll show you how slightly the Beau Rivage rates per 1,000 gallons is going to go up a nickel. But they've been burned through a lot of nickel, so that's helpful.
and Mike, I just wanted to say, we have gotten it to where we're covering the cost of the department, but we're not funding reserve and replacement. We're not funding those repairs and everything. Just
Yeah.
like some of these utility projects that we're doing, say out in Wool Market and other places, that really should be coming from the utility fund, and we should be covering that cost in our rates and everything else. So, I mean, we've done good.
We've done better than you're saying, because this year we had 4 water tanks rehabbed completely.
Yeah.
And we put in a $300,000 worth of water lines to the new fire station, all out of the water sewer fund.
Yeah, that's the first time in 20 years I was able to get these water wells and tanks fixed.
But I want to just, y'all recall something. A part of that fund balance that we have in there, yes, some of that has been recovered by our rate increase, but 1.5 to 7 million of that came from the refunds from the Harrison County Utility Authority. So 1.7 of it, So we still need to have those rate increases, what I'm saying.
If we're through with Billy Ray,
I just had one thing. I would like to look at raising that bottom line prior to that 2%, because that bottom line of $11 and whatever, to me, that's too low. And if we can look at bringing that up first, give us 2 projections, and I know you're going to give us something with the 2%, but if we can look at the possibility of bringing that up to the $13 and then the additional 2% afterwards, I think
Well, it
that's
don't have to
something
be
we'll
the
look at.
13, Felix. I mean, it can be what it needs to be. I'm just saying that it needs to start somewhere, because you're going to just keep going. It's a vicious cycle that you got to go through.
I agree.
It may be 12, it may be 12.50, it may be 12.75.
we'll give you a proposal.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
Jody, how many people we actually have that can put a city now that makes less than 11.75?
Well, in his department, he's got like 15 or 20 under 11.75. I haven't done a search on it.
Probably about 25 between Parks and Recs. And believe it or not, then the janitors make less than that, so they're only $10 and something. Right. So there are probably 50 people that are employees of the city that are making $12 or less.
Yeah.
If you run a percentage, say you have $1,
Mhm.
that'd be.
We're Biloxi.
Say that's 8.
Mhm. Right.
I said we have 655 employees. I'm sorry Mike was off. And when you increase that on over there, both for how many people you got working for you, he said about half of them. Well, maybe that half. He said that doesn't actually work. So I said maybe we ought to get rid of the half that's not working.
We've arrived at the 5 o'clock hour. Would you wish to have another workshop?
We can do it Monday, 3 o'clock.
I mean, on another day?
That's good. We've got 2, 3 things left. But quickly like this. I like 1 hour classes, not an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. And we've been there since 1:30, you know?
Are we fixing
After
to
a
wrap
while,
this
it gets
up?
old.
Lucy's ready to go over our budget, Madam President.
So what were we doing?
Lucy's said she's ready to go over our budget if y'all want to knock that out. Council budget.
Okay,
Bye,
can
bye.
I say one thing before you start? I wasn't able to reduce the capital outlay due to the timing that I had given them, so that'll be less,
Okay.
4,000.
Okay, so, yes, as Jody said, let me start up here with the supplies. We have a reduction in office supplies for 300. We've reduced our official documents by 2,000 for a total of 2,300. We increased our printing and binding 1,000 for ward meeting printings. We also increased our other professional services by 500. Our advertising was reduced from 10,000 to 8,000, and our membership and dues went from $49.50 to $1,500. And if you will recall, for 2 years or so, we had outstanding payments due to Council of Government, I believe. So we had to pay those and get those caught up. So now we're just budgeting $1,500. And in our direct purchase, we have been long overdue with the Band-Aid, with the sound system and everything in this room. So we had the man come out, and Nikki met with us, and they gave us a quote first of $43,600, and they were able to get it down by $4,400, so it's a total amount of $33,600. And it's been over 10 years, right, Nikki? It's just, we don't have a choice. We're at a crucial point because you just can't keep going with it. So if you have any questions about what all they're going to do, I can direct those to Nikki. And then our final increase is if you will recall, the administration brought it to our attention that our salaries have to be set by a motion according to our ordinance annually for our raises, clerk of council, deputy clerks of council. We are no longer on the pay scale, it's my understanding. And for many years, we have been overlooked for COLA, cost of living, and merit raises. I mean, I've been here 35 years. I plan to retire in a couple of years. So I'm requesting for the three of us a one-time increase of $5,000 each to fill that void.
I don't have any paperwork on that.
I can't seem to find that either.
Oh, on the we don't have a okay, we don't have a big one to look at.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. This is, we're all following the mayor's
Well,
spreadsheet.
they passed it out yesterday.
Lucy, so in our numbers here, do you know?
I didn't see any at all.
So if you look at the bottom, you'll see the total increase.
Yep. Okay. So this jives, this payroll number at least jives down here. Is this including that 5,000 per clerk? It's in this number?
Yes,
Okay. Do I need to pass this down?
if they want to look at it.
Anybody want to look at Lucy's copy or take a glance at it?
Yeah.
Are there any other raises being asked for personnel in other departments? I know that we have, for example, if somebody took a different position, that's one thing. If you're in police and fire, I know that you have promotion increases, whatever, that's kind of automatic. But what about other folks in other departments, folks in public works or community development, they getting raises this year?
Not this year, not last year, not the year before.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, but I tell you what they do, and a lot of them other setups, they move people up in numbers. From a 10 to 12 and that way, you really don't see it. They just move them. George Lawrence went to an executive, whatever word they want to make up. Well, we don't do that here. We don't have nothing like that. We don't have any levels. Yeah, we got 3 clerks. So they can't go to the 15, 16. They're not hired like that in our system. Yeah, we set their salaries like you went through last year with you to set that 3% raise, and it took 6 months before we got to put it in effect. So the 3% raise was only good for the last 6 months. We didn't even do it for the whole year. And that was last year when we tried to, the first time we tried to have some money. So, whatever we need to do, we have to set that here. So it's not like compared to anybody else's directors and that. This is a little different.
It is different, Councilman, and we reflect that in the ordinance, the way the ordinance is set up. But I think you got to look in the mirror. If you're going to give yourselves raises, maybe you ought to take care of the guys at the low end of the pole and the rest of the employees.
Well, you got to look around what happened a lot too, Mike, like, me, I know too much, and a lot of people seen what went on. A lot of people got a lot of added money, and that didn't set well with a lot of employees in the city of Biloxi. We'll just leave it at that, okay?
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to jump in there and say that's why I'd really like to look at a comprehensive look at the salary schedules. I'd prefer to have a multi-tiered or multi-step process so that employees could look at something every year. It may not be much, but waiting anywhere from 3, 4, or 5 years for a salary increase, or in some instances, because we don't know if any folks have been given salary increases on the administrative side of this. If a supervisor says George deserves a raise and the CAO and mayor sign off on it, George gets a raise. And I don't know. There may be very few folks. I don't think there are dozens. I don't know if there would be a dozen. There may be some from time to time or clusters, but that's why I would prefer to see. Mr. Leonard and I have talked about this for a while.
Yep.
That's why I would prefer to look at a comprehensive solution to this, because we have some outliers with positions that we've added, as George alluded to. But if we're going to do something for our personnel, I'd prefer that if we're going to increase where we start them, good. That affects everybody up the ladder just about on the salary schedule. And then once you bump up their salary, now, unless you change their benefits, now you're bumping up the benefits cost too. That's about 40% of whatever we're paying them. So, it gets to be very pricey very quickly. And I think it's to increase everybody's salary 1% is what, about $400,000? Did you say, Mike? So 1%. I don't know if that'd cover inflation most years. So you're not looking at anybody getting rich, but I don't know that we have the resources. But that aside, I think we could spend this next year looking at something more comprehensive that ties a lot of these things together as a compensation package, not just salary or benefits, including insurance and all that. I think maybe look at leave, look at vacation time, and do you have to use that up in a certain amount of time? I just think there are a lot of moving parts, and if you think of it as a tapestry where everything hangs together to give a person coming to work in Biloxi a good comprehensive package, I'm sure everybody would like to be paid more, but there are just a lot of moving parts to how we compensate you in Biloxi. It's just not all dollars and cents in that respect of an hourly wage. So I'm done talking on that. Thank you.
Now you take just like 5% raise, it'd be $2 million. Additional $2 million a year. Just a 5% raise. So that was, now you got to figure, well, I'm coming up with the $2 million. Just like anything else. That's how this pretty. It's not hard to figure these things out,
That's right, and that's a recurring cost year after year.
Also, we got to come up with $2 million. We already have a budget we're trying to cut. We probably $3 million up already in this budget. So it's just how you want to pay for anything. That's the name of the game. We don't want to cut anybody. We want to be the best city in Biloxi, but it takes money to do that. The best citizens for the city of Biloxi. All right, well, so where we at with this now? Now we got a sheet. So nothing really changed in this thing, Lucy?
Well, the main thing is our increase for the sound system, and that's 33,600. We've had,
And what, is that the computers
that is for the sound system for this room.
here?
Here, it's new microphones, it's acoustic changes.
That's a one-time cost though, right?
Yes.
One-time cost.
Yes. Things with our mixer and everything combined.
Oh, these computers, these here, this is ours?
Pardon me?
This is part of our budget? All
Yes.
these computers in here, and the
Yes.
sound system in here?
Yes, we're responsible for that.
Lucy, I have a
We own this
question.
room.
I have a quick question on, you mentioned the salaries that are in here, the $5,000 increase for each of you. So that would be $15,000 increase in salary and wages.
Right.
There's no, that does not include an increase in PERS? It does include it? How would it, if it's,
If you have 50,000, it's 17.4% against 50,000. If we increase it to 55,000, it's 17.
she said $5,000 increase in, before or after, or including PERS?
PERS is up $7,055. You expect an increase of salaries.
Okay.
Okay, so the percentage
So the 7,000 ties into, okay, I just want to make sure we made that change in there. Okay, and then the insurance you have in here is going down 5,400. Is that just an adjustment from an historical, or why would the insurance go down 5,400?
Are you talking about the insurance?
The
Why-
insurance,
why is it down
employee
5?
hospital insurance?
last year, I budgeted Dr. Tisdale having health insurance, and I budgeted Mr. Barrett having single. So taking out Dr. Tisdale's insurance and making Mr. Barrett's correct, it is a negative number.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you, Mr. Tisdale.
Doing my part.
All right. All right, George.
I don't see anything different in there. The other thing we have to decide what y'all want to do with the other one.
I'm just looking at the total here, inclusive of the change to 17,794 per council. Total with PERS, P-E-R-S. 17,994.
Can we do that in a workshop? Can we do that in a workshop?
Yeah, you probably,
I'll make a motion.
well, you gotta get it straight now. You doing a flat rate or you gonna do a percentage? And then you gotta do the PERS inside that 17.4% inside that 5,000, or an additional 17.4. So you're gonna have to see how you're gonna set that. You might do better with a percentage, I'm saying, than,
I don't,
well, they're gonna, whatever you add is 17%.
I don't know if we can take action in a workshop if it's designated as a workshop.
You know, when your budget approved, that's when you take your action. When you approve the budget.
We have not voted individually on the different departments. When we're presenting the departments, we're making changes. We'll come back with a full, the full budget once all those changes are made. We've made changes in many of the departments.
Well, I would think if we're going to look at a pay raise for the clerks, that it would be on a resolution at a regular council meeting.
Right, I don't think you're doing any resolutions in here today.
I'll just leave it at that.
I'll make the motion for procedural. Y'all don't want to vote for it, that's fine. If we don't get a second, that's fine. But I'll move it.
what you have to do, you have to have a resolution run through the council to change it. You can say, I can say, I'll give you 50,000, but until it comes back to us as a resolution, you can't do anything about it. We have to do that, us. You know, we have to set that ourselves, and we pass that by a resolution. I think you need to work up the first thing, too.
This is right out of the ordinance, been handed to by the clerk. The city council shall by motion annually set the minimum salary for the clerk of the council and any deputy clerks of the council. Does not say anything about a resolution, but you can do it either or, I guess, but. If there's no second, then it moves to something else, but I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Four.
Yeah, I vote for. But I'm telling you, you need to come back. The motion on, that is not gonna make it official. I don't care, that's not gonna make it official. You're gonna have to run that through as a resolution through this thing. You can't go around and just say, make a motion. I'm just telling you, you have to run a resolution through here. Same thing we did last time, to keep it straight and legal.
So, so the two absent council members, are they aware of this? Okay, all right.
Let's do it 3 times to make sure it goes right.
And I think you need to make the adjustment with the president side to 5,000. I think that all needs to be taken into consideration. I have no problem doing it. Let's do it. Let's run it down the table one time, run it the right way down the table. That's it. Not against anything. No, I think we're done.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
You want to do another department?
I gotta go somewhere.
No, I don't want to do another department. You good next month like we did?
I'm good now.
We're done.
I can knock out the legal department very quickly.
That's the only way, that's the only place we can cut money.
We did cut it.
We ain't cut any money yet.
Peter needs a raise. Give him a raise. Oh, he wrote something.
The legal department this year has a budget of $1.9 million, 1.924464, and the next year they're proposing slightly less, 1.924223. So that's a decrease of $241 in the legal budget for FY19 going into FY20. So essentially, you're talking about a flat budget 1 year.
I guess y'all don't want me to have no papers at all, 'cause I don't get any papers at all. So maybe I wasn't.
I tell you, the biggest, my thing, Peter's gonna be the same thing as always. That's, the court. I mean, we're spending $1 million on the court system now. And I don't know what we can do about that. You know, I mean, that's where we just seem to be. We're not collecting any money, we're just putting out a ton of money.
Wait, don't say you're not collecting any money, okay? Basically, let him talk about what he's doing.
You're collecting 550,000 less,
Yeah, that's it.
less.
That's it.
So you're not collecting with the million that you used to collect.
Okay.
Right, so. And what we've done in the court system have not helped us one bit.
I did verify that the fines are about the same and the judgments are the same, but the amount collected is less. And it's two things. It's not being able to jail people for not paying fines, but the other one is not being able to suspend licenses for not paying fines. We do have the new law about being able to attach to tax refunds, and we're going to focus this year on getting those collections up.
Is that state refund?
State refunds.
So what do? You tax it against them? Their taxes?
Yeah, what they have is a new collection procedure that you send them a letter, letting them know what's going to happen if they don't pay. There could be a lien on their tax refund, and you can add 25% to that amount. And if they don't respond, then we got to get good notice on them. If they don't respond, we send that into the Department of Revenue, and any refunds they would get, it comes off to us.
Just a little different than us charging people to cut grass in it.
Yeah.
We do that against their household taxes, right?
That's against the ad valorem tax. This is their
Right.
Yeah, it's a new law. The MML pushed that through. They've been trying to get that through for the last couple of years, and it went into effect this year.
So it's strictly tax refund money?
Tax refund.
So if somebody don't get a tax refund, you can't do anything about it?
Correct.
Okay.
But it will help.
I mean, it's another avenue we have because we had none. All they got to say is, I can't pay. You can't do anything about it. That's why I think we should sue the ACLU. I don't know who they are. They're just some group of people running around. I don't know what they have no power. They go get people to sue you. They have none. And I think we cater too much to them. All the stuff they tell us we have to do, I don't know who they are. But the people running around the United States ain't nothing. It's just a group of people. So, I mean, I think we ought to sue them, because they're costing us an extra $600 a year for the stuff they forced us to do.
25,000 to his budget.
Say again?
Add 25,000 to his budget. We'll do it.
I mean, I got no problem. So we can't, the money you got, I mean, this legal seemed to be a lot, $2 million a year, and I'm going to have, who else you pays under yourself, under the legal thing? You under the legal, and who else? Is anybody else?
At my firm, it's Hank Ross, Nicole Sullivan, it's Mr. Biloxi, David Wheeler, Terry Steele at Page Menino, Michael Whitehead at Page Menino. We've got,
I'm happy to run down them. I got them here. You got Brewer Law, Blessy Law, Corbin Gunn, Wise Carter, Curry Johnson, Rita Solon, Biggs, Ingram, and Solop, Page Menino Perisic, Wheeler, and Williams. And we've paid them anywhere from $200 to $230,000 today.
Chris Salper, that firm is on our FEMA deal.
Right, they're specialists. That's exactly right.
also the Oscarenda, or any construction litigation, they handle that. I mean, I do think, I think when the mayor took office, that portion, just for general legal fees, was $1 million. It first went to $900,000 under Gerald Blessy, and then we've shaved a little bit off each year. And so I think at the 765 where that is now, I think we can get things done. We still have on the horizon possibly a fight with Oscarenda towards the end of that contract. That'll be in this next fiscal year.
We got some CPI kind of things that could happen.
We've got some things going on with the Secretary of State that his lawyers are paid by our Tidelands Fund, and so we kind of paying both sides of that litigation. So we're trying to work through that. But yeah, we have some.
But the majority of them only work for you when you need them.
That's right, all of them.
Right. I mean, I know Blessed is the only one that works all the time. I mean, the rest of them, like the Wise Carter, when you need him, you call them. You pay that fee then.
Y'all works when you need to. I mean, it's all within the scope of hours and type of services.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're engaged when they need to be engaged, and I think that's what Peter's, here to direct what we need, who we need, what specialty is needed when the need arises. But if we're fighting every day with certain things that we don't feel are that Biloxi is being treated right, and it's sometimes the best place to do is in court, and what you need in court are lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like example today, we did that executive session at the start of the meeting, and, you know, we saved a couple of hours there by not waiting to the end.
Yeah, I
He's on and
understand,
off
that's
the
what I said then.
Everybody's leaving.
Yeah, they're getting bored
I'm
now.
tired.
It's a good time we
Let's
have.
go, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, come on, man.
The other question I guess I have to ask is, I know Gerald helps and does a lot of stuff with you. What does that entail with him with being part of the economic development thing? Does that have anything to do with you? I mean, he kind of does a couple of, he's supposed to be head of the economic development.
Well, that doesn't really exist.
So I'm just saying but that's nothing to do with you, that part.
No, that position doesn't really exist anymore. He works on legal matters that deal with economic development, though. If we
Okay,
have
so
something
that's-
come along, like we may have a TIF involved, or somebody coming in, a new business that we need some expertise on. We don't have anything really ongoing right now, economic development, because it's already kind of in place. A lot of the downtown development, the Main Street, a lot of these sort of housing projects we have, a lot of these have already been put in place, so we don't
So that
have
really
any,
had nothing to do
we don't
with
have
it.
anything really going on right now on that.
Yeah, so that had nothing to do, you're not paying for anything like that. I mean,
Not the
what you're
last-
doing is mostly, what he's doing is legal. Like Popo said, we're always gonna need some more legal stuff, because it's constantly happening, whatever it is.
Right, and we kind of, when we first came in office, we talked about 7 categories of who we're going to engage. You don't have to have one-stop shopping with a single entity. So
Yeah.
we broke it up and we bid it, and we analyzed that these are the players that need to be ready to rock and roll, almost similar to, establish what we're going to pay, bond, counsel with Jane and.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep in all the other things, but I mean, there's certain stuff you have to have, I
Yeah.
understand that. I was just
We've
trying
got
to
some
correct-
pending,
get that straight.
we were in some pending negotiations with some of the phone companies to do a couple more tower leases. So we always have, in different properties, we got some interest. Sunday, somebody called about one of the lots on Cavett. So, a lot of that, we just field a lot of that and assess their interest. And if they're a legitimate sort of, if it's a legitimate offer, we're going to bring that to y'all. So, I mean,
So
there's a
you
lot
do-
of day-to-day kind of just questions and interests that we have on things like that.
You need to get your committee together, and go find us another $1.5 million like we got from the county. Can you do that? That was a good thing. That was a big thing. That was a good one. And then I think we whipped Gulfport a couple of times. We made a few pennies off of that. So those things turned out good for us. I mean, I know it takes the legal system to do that stuff, so.
If I had something like that, I couldn't tell you, but you never know.
I'd just like to say, it looks like we're winding down. I just want to leave everybody with this thought. When we covered revenue, we said revenue was flat. We're looking at, in the fiscal 20-year proposed budget, the revenue at roughly 58.7 million, and we're looking expenditures at roughly 65 million. So we got a little bit of a hole there, and we didn't hear much to close that hole today. That's all. That's just, well, to me, that's a lot to think about. So when I think about that transition and assessment center, I will also think about these deficit numbers we're looking at right now. That's it. Thank you.
What was that last? What did you say? That sound like it. I've made. Second. 3 o'clock Monday. There ain't nothing left on it. The problem is, right now, you ain't got nothing. Then we're gonna sit down and figure out what we gotta do. Hey, we'll either find a couple million somewhere.
We need a cool million or two.
What do you figure? It's real easy. fine.
I might be out of town.
I mean, that's fine for me. Monday, I like that Monday.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
All right.